Good morning, or good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. Palestine here. Welcome to my channel. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm setting my smartphone on top of my sandwich box, and I definitely wish my smartphone had a different position, but living in poverty, I haven't really got a proper tripod, so I have to put my smartphone wherever I can, and today it's sitting atop my sandwich box, so that's why you're seeing me the way that you're seeing me. And it's a pretty warm day. It was, we had that heat wave last week and the week before, really, and then now it's getting cooler because it's starting to rain. So if it's really hot, I have to wear my hair up in an elastic band or clip or something, because I don't want to get really hot and sweating. But if it's cooler, then I can wear my hair down. And I'm wearing long sleeves today. I'm wearing my red top, which I think it's probably a little bit bigger than what I need because of the shoulders. But I got it at a charity shop in Poole, and it didn't really have a size on it. And then I'm wearing my red tennis shoes, or they're Converse All-Stars, and they're red, that I got from the Way Ministry, because the Way Ministry is the only place that I can get clothing handouts now, because Queen's Arms is not offering clothes anymore. So that means I'm going to have to go to charity shops and Poundland and Primark to get clothes, since I can't get them at Queen's Arms. But what I'm not really happy about is when I was going to Queen's Arms and the Way Ministry, I got a lot of things that normally I wouldn't consider buying. So, and then I got a lot of things that I didn't really like, and I would give them to my boyfriend to sell on Vinted. For instance, his Vinted channel isn't his name. It's like Scandinavian Mike or something like that. I'll ask him what his Vinted name is, and then I'll write it down on a sheet of paper. But I think it's Scandinavian Mike or something like that is his Vinted name. But he sells products on Vinted, and he doesn't make a lot of money for it. He got a hold of an old BlackBerry that was like maybe 15 years old, and it was running on 3G, so you definitely can't use it anymore if it's running on 3G, and the SIM card had been taken out of it. But he looked on it, and we got it working. We ran it up, we charged it up, it accepted a USB cable, so we were able to charge it up, and then we were able to set the time on it. And then I told my boyfriend, it uses a lot of power as well, and I told my boyfriend, I said, when you're not using it, you have to turn it off, because it's not really much use for an ordinary person, since it's so old. It's running on 3G. I don't think they even have 3G anymore. But I think that a lot of people want to buy old phones so they can refurbish them or remodel them or use them for parts. So he put this BlackBerry on Vinted and asked £8 for it. It was old. It was about 15 years old, but it still was running. And he put this BlackBerry on Vinted, asked £8 for it, and he actually was able to sell it for the asking price of £8. So that was good, because my boyfriend really can only sell things on Vinted that people give him, because it's not really worth buying something, not unless you know about antiques or you know about jewelry. If you know about antiques, you can go into a thrift shop or a charity shop and get something. Or if you know about jewelry, you can go into a thrift shop or a charity shop and get something. But my boyfriend doesn't know anything about antiques and jewelry, and neither do I. But I was really happy that he was able to get sell this old BlackBerry that was given to him for £8. And then when you sell something on Vinted, you don't get very much money for it, but the person that buys it has to pay the postage. So if he had to pay postage, he wouldn't get anything at all. He probably would owe money, But I'm really proud of him that he was able to sell that BlackBerry. So what we had to do was we had to charge it up, and we had to look on the internet how to use it, because I've never used a BlackBerry before. So we had to look on the internet how to use it. So we had to learn how to use this BlackBerry, and then we were able to look and find out what its specification was, what its storage was. We were able to set the date and the time, and somebody bought it. And I think that people buying these really old phones, I think they either want to sell them to refurbish them or do something to them, or they want to use them for parts. One of the two. That's what I'm thinking. That's what they want to use these old phones for. And my boyfriend has another old phone that's about 8 years old. And I asked him, I said, well, why don't you put that on Vinted? And he says that he doesn't know what to say. And I said, well, just look and see what somebody else has said and copy that. And so I think I'm going to try to get him to sell this other phone. It's a Samsung phone that's at least 8 years old. And it was a Samsung phone that he was using that was so old that he couldn't put apps on it. And so because he couldn't put apps on it, I gave him the phone that I previously had that was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, so he could put apps on this phone that I previously had. So basically, I think that's what we're going to do in 2029 when I get a new phone. Then I'll just give him my old phone and set it up and take the cable and set it up from my old phone, his new phone, to the phone. And so he won't have to buy a phone anymore. He'll just use my old phones. I think that's what we're going to do. And that way, if he takes care of my old phones, then he won't need to actually buy a phone. He can use my old phones because you get a cable and you can connect the cable from the old phone to the new phone, and that will transfer all of the data. And then once it transfers all of the data, then that's good. It's transferred your phone numbers and your contacts and your pictures and things like that. So I think that's what we're going to do in the future, so he doesn't have to buy a phone. And then my Sikh friend wants me to give him my old phones, but I'm not going to give him my old phones because my Sikh friend has a full-time job. He's working. He has a house. He has an ISA. He lends people money, and so he can very easily afford to buy a new phone. So I'm not going to give my Sikh friend my old phones because he doesn't need it. My boyfriend is on universal credit. He has nothing. He cannot afford to buy a new phone. A new phone would be several £100s. So I'm going to give my old phones to my boyfriend because he needs it a lot more than my Sikh friend. And my Sikh friend's phone is just slightly newer than the phone that I gave my boyfriend. And I told him, I said, you need to get a new phone because the screen is cracked and everything. He says, no, I'm not going to get a new phone. It's too much work. It's too hard because I have to install the apps and everything like that. I said, well, it's not hard to do that. I said, I can do that for you. I can transfer all the data from the old phone to the new phone. But he doesn't want to do that, and it's up to him. So my Sikh friend, he can well afford a new phone, but my boyfriend can't, and I can't give my Sikh friend my old phone when my boyfriend has to do without. So I think he's upset about that, and I explained to him why I couldn't give him my old phone because he keeps saying that I'm going to give him my old phone, and I say, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to give it to my boyfriend. And I explained to him, I said, look, you've got a house, you've got ISAs, you've got a job, you're lending people money, you can well afford to buy a new phone. I said, my boyfriend doesn't have any of that. He's on universal credit. He cannot afford a new phone, so I'm not going to do it. And I know he's upset. He wants me. He's very greedy. He's very greedy and very mean. And I know he wants me to give him my old phones, but I'm not going to do that. I can't do that when my boyfriend has to do without. And I'll just say, if my boyfriend wants to give you his old phone, well, that's up to him. But by the time I give my boyfriend my old phone, his old phone won't be usable. So, not in this modern world. So he may as well just sell it on Vinted or eBay. Now, Vinted has an electronic section now. And the great thing about Vinted is that you don't have to pay fees. Like eBay, you have to pay fees. And so after you've paid fees and everything like that, you don't get much. So it's really better to sell something on Vinted because Vinted doesn't charge fees. And I'm also really proud of my boyfriend because he's learning how to use Microsoft Office. And he's learning how to use Microsoft Office because he has to use Microsoft Office because he started delivering leaflets for another company. And this other company says that every week he has to send them an email telling them the number of leaflets that he's delivered and the streets that he's delivered leaflets on. So I made him an Excel spreadsheet. And then so the Excel spreadsheet has the date, the number of leaflets delivered, and then each column is a street, and he can put the street names in each column. And so far there's like 23 columns for 23 streets, and then if he needs to add more streets, we can add more columns. And then he also has to send an email. So he's learning how he can input data into a spreadsheet. He's able to do that because he's got a spreadsheet for his reselling, and then he's also got a spreadsheet for his leaflet distribution. And then every week he has to send an email to this company, and I'm helping him send the emails until he's able to do it himself. And then now what he has to do is every Monday morning he has to go to that company, that window company, and he has to sign the invoice that they prepared. They prepare the invoice for him. So he signs the invoice that they prepared, and he gets new leaflets, and he's told what areas to deliver leaflets under. And so he was really upset on Friday when we went to Oasis. He was really upset, blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, because I tried to get him to go to a computer course, an IT course, more than 10 years ago. And he said, no, I can't do it. I've taken courses before and I couldn't do it. I was no good at it. Well, they had Learn Direct in the town that I live in. He could have taken IT courses for free at Learn Direct. He said that he couldn't do it, that if he took this IT course at Learn Direct, he wasn't going to be able to work. He couldn't do it. He's taken courses before and it was no good. So I believed him. You know, why would I not believe him? And then he says, and then, because he said he's tried to take courses before, it was no good, he couldn't do it. So I believed him. So I've been helping him with OneDrive, because with OneDrive you can get like a scaled down version of Microsoft Office and use it for free. You don't get all the bells and whistles, but you get a scaled down version that you can use for free. And so on Friday night, when he was feeling sorry for himself about what am I going to do, and I just told him, I said to him, look, I'm very proud of you. I said, you are learning how to use Microsoft Office, and I am very proud of you for doing that. And I've told him that a few times, that I was very proud of him for using Microsoft Office. And so that was it. I do have somebody phoning me right now, but I'm going to ignore it. And the reason why is because I can't make this video and pick up the phone because I'm making this video on my smartphone. He stopped ringing, but I think he's going to ring again. And the purpose of this video was to let you know that I've had my 4th injection at the hospital because I have to get an injection in my eye. In my left eye. And the reason why I have to have an injection in my eye is because I had a blocked blood vessel in my left eye, and that was causing a fluid buildup in my left eye. So I've had 3 monthly injections so far, and then they went 2 months, and then so this morning I had an appointment and they gave me an eye test, and then whenever I had the eye test they took photos of my eyeball, and they said that the fluid has dissipated, but not totally. There's still a little bit of fluid in there. So they said that I still have to keep getting the injections. They put this medicine in the injection, and they gave me a leaflet one time telling me the medicine that they were actually putting in the injection. But I think I threw the leaflet out. But anyway, so this injection has medicine in it, and it's supposed to make the fluid dissipate. Maybe even it's going to do something with the blocked vessel in my eye. I'm not sure exactly, because when she took pictures of my eye this morning, the optometrist took pictures of my eye, she asked me, she said, do you want to see the pictures? I said, no, that's okay. And then so they said, well, we have to keep giving you these injections, because if we stop giving you injections, the fluid's going to build up in your eye again. And she asked me, she said, have you noticed an improvement in your eyesight? And I said, yes, I can notice an improvement in my eyesight. I said, before I started getting the injections, everything was really fuzzy. I said, but I have noticed that my eyesight has improved. So she says, good. So they gave me an injection this morning, and then so I had to go in, I had to wait. And then another thing that happened was I had to go to the bathroom because I'd been waiting to see the doctors, and then I had to go to the bathroom. So I said, can I go to the bathroom? And there was this man in the bathroom. I don't know what he was doing in there, and I don't want to know what he was doing in there, but he was taking a really long time in the bathroom. If he needed to take that long a time in the bathroom, he should have done it at home, because there was only one bathroom in the hospital where I was, and there were people waiting to go to the bathroom. I have no idea what he was doing. I don't know what he was doing. I don't care what he was doing. But if he needed to take that long a time in the bathroom, he should have done it at home. And then, so anyway, I had to go to the bathroom, and I said, I'm really sorry. I said, I had to wait. I said, I'm really sorry. And then so, because I was really afraid that I was going to wet myself when they gave me the injection. So I thought, I have to go to the bathroom. So they gave me the injection, and the doctor told me that I was a very good patient. He said, do you want the nurse to hold your hand? I said, no, that's okay. I'll stick it out. I'll stick it out, tough it out. And then so they take this cylinder, this plastic cylinder, and they actually put it in. First thing they do is you have 2 lots of local anesthetic. You have a first lot of local anesthetic in the office, and then you have the second lot of local anesthetic in the room. And so they give you this local anesthetic, and then they take a plastic cylinder and actually put it in your eye, make you look up, look down, and they put it in your eye, and then they give you the injection. And obviously it hurts. It's not comfortable. It hurts, but you just have to suck it up, you just have to put up with it. So the doctor told me, or the the practitioner, person giving me the injection, told me that I was a very good patient. Well, I guess I have a high pain threshold. I don't know. I need to have a high pain threshold. I've had a lot of emotional and physical pain in my life. So I must have a high pain threshold, because I've heard of this man who I know that he gets the same injections that I get, but whenever he gets an injection, he has to take the whole day off. But his situation is a lot different from my situation, because if I take a day off to get an injection, that goes down as sick leave. And then when you take sick leave, it's used against you. When they start looking to get rid of you, people, they're going to use that against people. So I guess he isn't really bothered if all this sick leave is piling up. But he says he has to have a day off when he gets an injection. But I just go into work. I think the first time I had an injection, I took the day off and worked another day. And the rest of the times I just thought, well, I'm just going to suck it up. I'm going to go into work after I've had my injection. And this morning, somebody asked me, she said, well, should you be at work if you've had this injection? And I said, well, it was only on one eye. It was only on the one eye. If it was on both eyes, I might think about it. And then she was telling me about this other person that has to have a day off. And I said, well, it is painful. It's not comfortable. It is painful. And then I had issues this morning when I was going to get my injection, because my seat friend wanted to come with me to the hospital, because for him it's an adventure. And so he was at my house at 7:15. I set the alarm for 7 to check my blood sugar, brush my teeth, put my clothes on, make my sandwich, and be out of my flat by 7:45. But because he came at 7:15, and it's mayhem in my house when he's there. And so we didn't even get out of my flat until close to 8, and my appointment was at 8:35. And so basically, and then he, for him, it's an adventure. He doesn't realize that I can't be late for my appointment. If I'm late for my appointment, they'll just write me off. For him, going to the hospital and going to my doctor appointment, that's an adventure. He doesn't realize that it's something I have to do. So he starts talking. He starts lollygagging and talking. And I finally said, because I haven't got the time to be dealing with this, I said, look, if you want to stay and talk, stay behind and talk, that's fine. You talk. I said, but I've got to get to my appointment. And I know he wasn't happy about that. And then so he caught up with us. We're at the bus stop. No, at the stoplight. He's trying to talk to me at the stoplight. I said, look, my priority is getting to my appointment. I said, we left my house 15 minutes late. I said, I don't have time to talk to you. I just have to get to my appointment. That's the priority. That's what we need to focus on. So I know he wasn't happy about that. And then so he didn't talk the rest of the time. And then so we finally got to the hospital. And then when we got to the appointment, because you get into the hospital and it's a big hospital. It's like one of the largest hospitals in the UK, from what I understand. And definitely the largest acute hospital in the UK. And then so when you get in the hospital, you've got to walk to the eye clinic. And the eye clinic is on the other side of the hospital. And then you've got to take the lift up 3 flights of stairs. And so basically, it was 8:22 when I got to my appointment. So I was 13 minutes early. But if I hadn't pushed them, if I hadn't said, look, I'm leaving. You can stay here and talk if you want to, but I'm leaving. And if I didn't say, look, I can't talk to you. I've got to focus on getting my appointment. I may have been late for my appointment. So instead of me having a nice leisurely morning of getting up at 7 o'clock and brushing my teeth and putting my clothes on and making my sandwich and having a nice leisurely stroll to the hospital, I had to take care of my sick friend. And so it's always very stressful. It's always very stressful because he's got a learning disability. He doesn't really truly understand the importance of being on time for a hospital appointment. I know he would want to be on time for his hospital appointment. He doesn't truly understand how important it is that I can't be late for my hospital appointments. So he wants to sit there and talk. For him, it's an adventure. So he wants to stay there and talk. And then, so I had to ring somebody and tell them that I might be late because my hospital appointment was overrun. And she said, okay. And he was like, she sounds nice. And I'm like, well, she has her moments, and my boyfriend knows. And then so he's saying what a nice person she is. And today she was telling me, you just need to stop taking in these waifs and strays, because when I was leaving after my appointment, I went and had breakfast. I had 24 minutes to get some breakfast, and then so I went into the dining hall, and there was a queue of people, and I wanted eggs because I can't make eggs at home, so I wanted eggs. So I had an egg, and then I had whatever else they had: ham, bacon and sausage and hash browns and mushrooms. And then I got a tea for my boyfriend because he'd already had something to eat, which I didn't. And that was more than £5.40. And I was supposed to get a staff discount. It didn't seem like any staff discount to me. And then, so by that time, all I could do was just sit there and eat my breakfast. He's having a good time. He's loving it. This is an adventure. He saw somebody he knew from the temple, and he went and said something to him. He's having fun. He's having a good time. He doesn't realize that I've got to be at work at 10 o'clock. So I ate my breakfast quickly. And then by that time, it was 9:59. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I have to make him get up because he doesn't understand the urgency that I can't be late for work, even though I've had a hospital appointment. And so he finally gets up. I said, well, I need my jacket, because he'd been holding on to my jacket. So he didn't want to give me my jacket, but finally he gave me my jacket. And then when we got out of the dining facility, because my office is right across from the dining facility, I gave my boyfriend a kiss goodbye, and I gave my seat friend a kiss goodbye. And when I start walking in the door, he says, is this where you work? I said, yes, it is. So he knows where I work now. And so obviously this person heard him speaking. So she's telling me that I'm not a social worker, and I need to stop taking in all these waifs and strays and everything like that. And he's saying what a nice person she is. He doesn't know her at all. And then even somebody else, and there were some other issues going on as well, but I can't discuss that. The only thing I can discuss is what she said to me about my friend, which I wasn't really happy about that, because one, if I don't take in waifs and strays, nobody's going to want to be my friend. Normal people don't want to be my friend. I mean, I've been working here for 10 and a half years now, and nobody's ever invited me to lunch. I've never been invited to any parties, never been invited to any lunches, never been invited to any get-togethers. Not unless everybody, or unless I was required to be there. But yeah, if I don't take in waifs and strays, I won't have anybody, because normal people don't want to be my friend. So I have to take in waifs and strays. And so basically, yeah, it just shows that my friend doesn't know her at all. But my boyfriend knows her. My boyfriend knows what she's like, and I know what she's like. So when he's saying she's really nice, I'm like, yeah, well, she has her moments, and didn't want to say anything bad about her, but I just said, well, she has her moments. And the first thing she's doing is she's telling me not a social worker and don't take in waifs and strays. But I wouldn't have normal people don't want to be my friend, especially because the UK government says I'm mentally ill. When normal people find out all the problems I've had, they definitely don't want to be my friend, because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to be tarnished with the same brush. So I think I'm going to have to go ahead and cut this video, because my seat friend has rang me 3 or 4 times, and I haven't picked up the phone because I wanted to make this video, and it was very stressful for me to try to make this video while he keeps phoning me. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me that you're watching my video and taking an interest in my life, as pathetic as it may be.